The takeover has begun. We are talking wrestling for the next hour. Russ, McCall, Dennis, Farrell. Anywhere you get your wrestling, that's where you'll get wrestling perspective. Russ, what's going on, my friend?
Not much, Dennis. Happy to be back in the O'Reilly Auto Parts studio today.
Well, almost. We're like in a satellite studio in my home studio basement. That's what we call it, right? The satellites.
That's right.
By the way, wrestling...
Kayfabe. All right.
They'll never know. Wrestling Perspective, powered by Blue Chew. Go to BlueChew.com. Use the promo code Perspective. That's what helps keep us on the air. You'll get your first order of Blue Chew for free. Just use the promo code Perspective. Our gift to you. Trust me, your girlfriends, boyfriends, wives, husbands, they won't argue with this purchase.
No, not at all.
So here we are now, a week removed. Well, almost a week now removed from Raw and SmackDown. Lots of changes. In our next segment, we'll talk news. A little bit later in the show, we're going to talk the Bautista return. Were you shocked?
I was. I did not see that coming. I stayed off Twitter. I didn't pay any attention to any kind of spoiler like that, so I didn't know he was coming.
Well, the rumors earlier when, I guess it was when they were over in Saudi Arabia, was that Bautista may return to face Triple H. Triple H, what tears his bicep at that show? Was it the Saudi Arabia show?
Yeah, it was Packer bicep or something like that. Yeah, and that was about...
And then it was dead.
Yeah.
We all assumed it was dead, and here we are now.
He's back and they're ready to roll.
I'm shocked, and I'm pleasantly surprised.
Same here.
I love how they pulled it off. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about Becky and Charlotte. Hey, if anybody out there makes milk cartons, can we put Asuka's picture on it? Because where has she been?
That's a great question. We're getting pretty down to the wire to the WrestleMania build, and I haven't seen her.
Nothing. Is she even on the Fastlane card?
I don't think so. It looked like they're building something with Mandy Rose based on the other week.
But that was it.
That was it.
That was it. What else? Oh, you know what? After the news segment, I want to talk about Roman Reigns in the leukemia situation. I have a very unpopular opinion, especially if you're on Twitter.
Yeah.
A lot of Twitter people are questioning whether Roman Reigns really is battling leukemia. The pushback against these people is crazy.
Rightfully so.
Well, Russ, okay. I don't want to give away my position here, bud, but I have an unpopular opinion, and I will make sure to say it on the show, and feel free to lambaste me or not, but I've got a different opinion. But listen, when we come back, we're going to get to the news. Arn Anderson, we've got Bruce Pritchard, we got a ton of other stuff. The Hardys coming back. You're listening to Wrestling Perspective. Go to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. If you missed any part of this show or Petey Williams and myself, you can get it at WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. We'll be right back. Russ, McCall, Dennis, Farrell, we're back talking news around wrestling. Russ, before we get started, as a reminder, BlueChew.com powers the show. Go to BlueChew.com. Use the promo code Perspective. Get your first order for free. Your significant other will be pleasantly happy with the outcome. We got to keep it clean. It's radio, Russ. Yeah. But if you do that and you use the promo code Perspective, it keeps the show on the radio, which makes Russ and me pretty happy because we still kind of stay somewhat famous.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Russ,
buy it.
Let's talk some news. I'll let you lead off to whichever news point you want to bring up first.
Let's talk about the Hall of Fame this week. I didn't see if they announced it on the television.
They did on SmackDown this week.
Then I missed that portion, but I did see it on Twitter. It looks like the Honky Tonk Man is your newest member of the Hall of Fame. What do you think about that?
I don't hate it. Well deserved, longest Intercontinental Champion at some point. Didn't someone outlast him yet?
No.
So still the longest. Yep. I'm okay with that. The problem is we're now just getting into people who have been employed by the WWE as Hall of Famers. Like, we talked last week, is Michael Cole deserving? He's been there, 15, 16, 17, 18 years? Something?
Since like 97.
Yeah.
He's been around a long time.
Does he deserve to be? I don't know. Time will tell. But right now, no, because he still works for the company. But now we're just getting into the Hall of Employment.
I agree. I feel like the Hall of Fame ceremony has lost a lot of its luster the last couple of years. You have a large pack of guys who are that real heart and soul of Hall of Fame material. And then I feel like we're really quickly running out of main event acts to fill in that Hall of Fame spot.
Last week I had said that the Hall of Fame needs to be part of the pre-show.
Yeah.
And I mean it because Now you don't have to have a certain amount of people to fill out a 1-hour ceremony. It'd be kind of impressive if there were years where they said, we didn't vote anybody in. We didn't, and everybody's, whoa, okay, now it feels exclusive. It feels important now. Or we've only voted one person in this year. And that's why I think it needs to be part of the pre-show where you're not going, all right, how many more times can we get Ric Flair in? Because we need 45 minutes. Mark Henry, to me, doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Not right now. And the Honky Tonk Man should have been in well before him. Politics, because Honky was very, very outspoken against the WWE for many years.
Against anyone.
Yes.
Frankly. I think I think there should be a part of the criteria where you've got to be removed from your active years as a star for a certain period of time before they put you in the Hall of Fame. There's a handful of guys that went in right away, and I don't disagree that they were probably Hall of Famers in the end. But it was hard for me to be like, oh, yeah, now seems like a great time. He's been retired 6 months. Edge, Eddie Guerrero, Mark Henry, guys like that. And Henry, Henry does not.
No,
I don't think so. But the other two, for sure, I think they absolutely do. But they were put in pretty quickly after their retirement or death. And I think it was too soon.
I just want to touch on this for 1 second. Last week we were asking of people who were deserving. We mentioned Michael Cole. We had said China deserves to be in by herself.
Absolutely.
In your mind, Chris Benoit, is he a Hall of Famer?
No. I'm in the camp that I feel like it's a hard thing to separate the man from...
It's a privilege just to be put back into the catalog. Remember, when it happened, they cut him out of everything. He was erased... And well-deserved.
Yeah, he murdered 2 people.
Yes.
A woman and a child.
I agree.
That aspect. No matter what was going on in his brain, which I don't think we have any idea of yet.
He is not a Hall of Famer.
Whatever was going on.
Because of the horrific circumstances.
Absolutely. I think if he had lasted out, he would have been a good mid-card Hall of Famer in the long run. And I was a huge Chris Benoit fan when he was active. But I think he would have been a good mid-level Hall of Fame guy.
Well, you brought up something, though. You brought up he murdered 2 people. Does that mean you should not be allowed to enjoy his matches then? If he's not a Hall of Famer...
No, I think they're separate situations. I think you watching back and seeing something on television and enjoying the entertainment aspect of what it was at the time...
Because here's the
thing. And it's hard for people. It's still different from a ceremony honoring him...
You're right. And you know what? I will not seek out a Chris Benoit match.
No.
But I will not fast forward if I watch a pay-per-view back from the network that he was on.
Same here.
I guess that's as weird way as I try to, put my logical spin on it to enjoy the best I can without feeling guilty.
Yeah, and for me, it's granted, I was a Chris Benoit fan, but if I'm looking from a purely selfish standpoint, right, just as a guy... I was a huge woman fan. Like, when I was a kid, she was my first crush, celebrity wrestling crush.
Wow.
It was woman, right?
Well, you're younger because mine was Miss Elizabeth.
Well, Elizabeth was on the top too, but woman was more so for me, and for his son in the struggles that he had before everything. I'm a special education teacher, so that that's tough for me.
All right, what's next?
All right, let's talk about the hiring and firings this week. Behind the scenes,
2 notables. By the way, the firing came after we recorded the show.
Yes.
So we didn't get to talk about it, but go ahead, lead in.
So Arn Anderson has been fired from WWE after 17 or 18 years of employment.
2001, he came over with the buy of WCW.
Yep.
Good for him. I think it's in the long run. I don't think you'll see him popping up anywhere else. I think he's one of these guys that, he worked at the height of the industry for so long, he's done. I don't think you see him pop up anywhere else. It's almost like, if you're an NBA player or a baseball player and you were one of the best for 15 years and you retire, you're not going to pop up in a beer league.
You're not going to be Jordan the Wizard?
No. Okay. Well, that's different.
Just checking.
But he was still in the NBA. But I don't see him popping up anywhere else. I don't see him going. I know there's a connection with AEW and Cody. It's not going to happen.
I don't know. I think it depends on what the money looks like, to be honest with you. I mean, the touring schedule and the money. I mean, he's 60 years old. He might want to enjoy retirement at this point. He might go back. He might at some point down the road, or he might simply take a lighter schedule and good money.
I think unless WWE calls him back, and you know what, in 4 or 5 years, depending on what happens with Vince, because the word on the street is there's a fallout with Vince. He was a Hunter guy. Hunter couldn't protect him. He's out.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's been issues with him and Vince for quite a while now. They've gone back and forth. Like
Right.
he was the one guy in the back that was willing to stand up to Vince and tell him his ideas were stupid from time to time.
Good.
So, which makes me like Arn Anderson even more than I already did.
I agree.
From a selfish perspective as a fan, I really do hope that we don't see Arn just fade into the sunset. From everything I've heard, he's got so much to offer, and he's done such a great job, developing the young talent in the back. I'd hate to see that just go away and people lose out on that opportunity to learn.
What else do we have?
His not necessarily replacement, but the hire the next day of Bruce Pritchard.
Doesn't do anything for me. Here's why. Rumor has it that he's been consulting. I'm using the finger question things since January.
Yeah.
The product hasn't been that good.
No.
So whatever he's consulting in, and I think the biggest aspect is not so much what he does for the WWE, but what does this do for his podcast?
I think it eventually is going to end it. To
Has
be completely
right?
honest, the schedule that you have as a full-time employee reporting directly to Vince McMahon is going to be so hectic and so busy. I don't see how he's going to be able to do that long term. I think he'll probably try for a little while, but I don't think it'll last long.
Is he even allowed to?
That's a great question. Well, they were producing content for the network in the past, so he may
but are they coming back for a second season? I don't
know. Conrad might have.
It was, yeah. Well, there's the next part is his co-host is part of
AEW.
Yes.
Not necessarily assigned with them, but he's a part of the AEW family with Starcast.
Right. And let's be honest.
I think he's
in bed with. Yeah. He is absolutely. I mean, he hosted their online press announcement.
Yeah, I think he's downplaying more than.
Oh, absolutely, and he has to.
Yes.
Same. You know what? Same thing with Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer is in bed with these guys, but he tries to downplay it in his news and his reporting. He knows way more than he's reporting, and that's why, to me, no longer Dave Meltzer a credible source.
Interesting take. I know. And admittingly, I'm a Torch guy. So as far as my following, I'm not a Meltzer guy in general.
All right. When we come back from this break, the break that helps pay the bills and keeps us on the radio, we're going to talk Roman Reigns. I have an interesting theory to Roman Reigns that may not be popular. I'm going to say it on the air. I'm going to take whatever backlash comes. You're listening to Wrestling Perspective. Russ McCall, Dennis Farrell. We'll be right back. Wrestling Perspective Takeover is back for the next, I'd say, 40-some-odd minutes. We're talking wrestling here on your radio dials. Russ McCall, Dennis Farrell. Hey, don't forget BlueChew.com powers the show. Go to Blue Chew. Use the promo code Perspective. Help keep the show on the radios. All right, Russ. We've teased it for the last two segments. And if you've missed it, any of the last two segments, go to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. Subscribe. You can find this show. You can find P.D. Williams and myself. P.D. Williams from Impact Wrestling, by the way.
Yes.
We do a podcast. We're kind of the original of Wrestling Perspective.
Yeah, the OGs of the Wrestling Perspective here.
All right. I teased my Roman Reigns thought.
Yeah, I want to hear about this. Tell me about it.
And be patient as I walk my way through this, because I haven't ever said this out loud.
So don't smack you in the middle of the conversation.
Yes, but I've thought about this now since his return. In October, he announced he's battling leukemia. He's had it for 11 years. He's been in remission most of those time. Mm-hmm. Now, admittedly, we don't know up until that announcement how long he's been fighting it. It could be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right?
Yeah.
But let's assume from the announcement to this Monday night when he came back, says he's in remission. By the way, just in time for WrestleMania season.
Okay.
And I'm not saying, I 100% believe he has it and he's battled it.
Okay.
I think WWE and himself has done a bad job of the PR part of this. Because every chance you've got, WWE is taking advantage of this. Whenever you look on the news, he's doing something with The Rock in a movie, and there's set photos. And we're in an industry where their main goal is to fool us all the time. I see a lot of backlash on Twitter, from people that I respect that says, if you think this is a hoax, screw you, I'm blocking you, or block me, go away, whatever. I'm going to say you can't blame the people who think this is a hoax. They're not doing a good job of really, and I hate to use the word selling this to me, but he disappears. He comes back in time for WrestleMania. You've seen him do a movie now. Was it like a Fast and the Furious prequel or something? I don't even know what it is. I feel like, and by the way, we're talking about an industry where people break legs and arms and feet all the time in a wrestling ring and come back 2 weeks later and wrestle.
Yep.
And, they're always trying to find ways to get over on the fans. So if you are a doubter, I don't think you should totally be. I hate it upon it on social media. I think you have every right to doubt the validity of this. I don't think you should hate the man. I believe it, but I can see where people would go, well, wait a second now. How many times has the WWE really told us the truth? Was Becky really arrested on Thursday or Monday night? You know what I mean?
I can understand where you're coming from. That.
And I'm not saying
the business is a work. Everything
Yes.
they do is a work. They faked injuries. They faked
all the time.
They've exploited deaths.
Listen. Don't act all high and mighty because WWE is not above faking cancer. They're not above it.
I don't know that they would go as
an old lady has given birth to a hand on TV. Vince McMahon has been blown up on live TV. You've had the sex celebration of
Edge and Lita.
Come on, you really think that the WWE is better than this? They're not. That if you could fake cancer and you knew it would get ratings, they do it in a heartbeat.
See, I think if you're looking back 10, 15 years ago, yes.
Oh, you mean to the same people that still run the company today?
I think so.
Yes.
But I just don't think faking cancer, that's pretty extreme to get a guy over.
How about Kurt Angle? Do you really think Jason Jordan's really his son?
No, of course not.
What? They're lied to you again?
I think there's a difference between what's in the script and faking cancer.
That's not above
big
it.
Difference.
They're not above it.
I don't think I agree. I think if there wasn't a corporate Wall Street component to the company,
they'd have faked it.
They
might have.
I don't think this would have been the first cancer thing.
I don't know
if they had the opportunity, but I think now, given the culture in the time of 2019, I don't think they would be crazy enough to fake cancer.
Now, I agree with you, but I am coming from the aspect of you can't hate on the people that don't believe this is real.
I'll give you that. I don't think you can really.
I've just laid out an amazing case on why you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, they don't have a track record that backs up their believability and their honor.
Yeah, how many times has someone been injured and they're off filming a movie? Constantly. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and smells like a duck, it's a duck.
And I'll give you,
And I'm not saying this, but I'm just making the case that you can't hate on people for not believing this because. I mean, even if, do you think Becky Lynch really has a knee injury? Do you think she really was arrested? Come on.
No, they're taking risk and blurring certain lines. Like, I think you make one announcement.
Buff Bagwell, remember when he broke his neck? They didn't announce when he came back. You know what happened? They wheeled him down for a wave, and Hulk Hogan knocked him over. And that's when you're like, oh, Buff Bagwell's neck is broken. Well, at that point, it wasn't.
He's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Surprise.
So he comes out and says, hey, I'm in remission. 20 minutes later, he's Superman punching his way through the whole arena.
Yeah, he was.
There was no buffer zone. Like there's no, hey, I'm in remission. I'll see you guys in a month. It's, hey, I'm going to hit anyone that's walking now. Where's my match at WrestleMania?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to argue that point. Let me tell you my perspective on him too.
Please do.
Okay, as a man, and as a human being, I am excited that he's healthy.
Right.
He's better. And
Absolutely.
He's in a good spot.
Good.
As a wrestling fan, I still don't want to see him on my television.
We disagree because
I
think
not want to see him on my television.
as bad as this sounds, gosh, God forgive me for what I'm about to say.
Lay it on me.
The best thing for his career that ever happened, and I'm going to leave it at those words.
I almost choked on my drink.
Yeah, the best thing that ever happened for his career because
You're
now
right.
he's so over. They're cheering him. There's no boos. This is everything that WWE ever wanted for him, and now they have it.
So let me ask you this, though.
Okay.
How long after they start officially pushing him back into the ring do they turn on him again? Because I'm going to tell you what, mine was by the end of the 3 hours last week. I was like, okay, I'm good with seeing him on my TV again. Let's cut that out.
You know, that's an interesting question and an answer. I don't know. It depends on what market you're in. I think Chicago like that.
In a heartbeat.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
The vast
boom.
majority of their fan base is. I don't think cancer is going to be enough to get him over.
Not in
I'm gonna say
Chicago.
that.
Not in Chicago. You know, Los Angeles will love him. The South, I think, will love him. Georgia. You know, even Boston, New York, I think will love him.
You think so? I don't think so.
I think they will.
I think Philadelphia, New York, Boston's going to turn.
Philly
on him.
will turn. Boston and New York, I think, will love him because right now the love affair is so strong. And it also depends on how they book him, too.
How they book him and when he comes back to that town. Because the longer he's back and the more push they give to him. For instance, if you go into WrestleMania and Seth Rollins loses to Brock Lesnar, I think that alone is enough to turn people on Roman Reigns because they're going to think, oh, geez, they're just putting him in. They're just prepping him for Roman again. Here we go. He's back, and here we go again.
Here's the thing. If Roman comes out and helps Seth win that championship, cheered.
Sure.
Once again, another huge babyface moment. And it's moments like that you need to build on if you want to keep this babyface cheer thing going. You need to put him second now in the Shield. And push him. He can still be the main person, but have him support the rest of the guys. And
don't make him the main person. Make him the second guy.
And you can still be a main person on Raw, but be the second guy in the Shield.
Well, I think that's it. I think the kind of push he needs is he's not top guy, face of the company material.
Right.
He's not. And I think
he is. I disagree.
See,
I think he is.
I don't think he is. And I think that is where the pushback comes from against him. You know, I think if he was
it's just bad writing. I would blame 75% of the boos on how they booked and wrote him.
Partially.
Not him.
Partially, yes. But I think here's the comparison guy I would put him to. One of the guys. I think he fits in two different categories. One, if you're looking at the way he's been booked and the way his placement on the card, I think he's Jeff Jarrett.
Oh,
I think
not even close.
Hold on. He's a good utility mid-card guy, and if he's used in that role and not moved, I think he can get popular. He can get respected and cheered. When you try to put him to the top of the card, like they tried to in WCW and TNA with Jeff Jarrett at the very top of the card, I think it flops and people turn on it because he's not good enough for that spot.
Who's the other person? You said two.
If I was going to compare him as a wrestler to Lex Luger, I think his promos are bland. They're middle of the road at best. His body I'm sure looks great, but his in-ring work, unless he's with the right guy, is eh.
So when we come back from break, I'll be doing the show alone because those are the most ridiculous comparisons that you could make.
No, see.
It's horrible, ridiculous.
People are going to want to follow me even more after those thoughts because that's the facts.
You know what? If I had to compare him to something, I would compare him to Big Van Vader.
What?
As far as popularity?
No.
Yes.
You like WWF Big Van Vader?
No, WCW.
Oh, you're full of it. Full of it.
You just called him Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He could be now not in the ring and in skills, not the Big Van, but as far as popularity and if you book him right, he could be Vader. Absolutely, because Vader was super over.
He's Jeff Jarrett.
Because no one will be Sting.
He's a real good middle of the card road.
Oh my gosh.
He's Jeff Jarrett with a Lex Luger persona.
Hang on. Security, when you get a second, please escort Mr. Russ out of the studio. Okay. All right. When we come back from break, which I'll be shocked if Russ is still here, and so will he, we will have more things to talk about. Bautista, Ronda Rousey. Maybe we'll talk about this, but our friendship now hangs in the balance of what he just... Jeff Jarrett, you were ridiculous.
I like Jeff Jarrett.
Wrestling perspective. on your radios. We will be right back. Don't forget WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. You can get this and everything else. We'll be right back. Russ McCall, Dennis Farrell back, getting you through what you need to know in the world of WWE and wrestling. This segment, we're definitely going to talk about Kofi Kingston. We're going to talk about Bautista being back and Ronda Rousey's promo skills. So sit back, relax. Don't forget Wrestling Perspective, sponsored by
Blue Chew.
Go to BlueChew.com. Use the promo code Perspective. Get the first order for free. Our gift to you for helping support us every time you do that. That's about another month we're on the radio still. So keep the Blue Chew stuff going. You guys, the fans, have been great. Feel free to reach out. You can reach out to us, by the way, if you have questions, comments. Go to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. There's a question segment there, or WrestlingPerspective@gmail.com. You can email us there. So there's
Facebook page.
Yeah, sure. If you go there,
I don't go there.
Who has Facebook anymore?
I don't know.
You can tweet us, but who tweets anymore? That's my new gimmick.
Yeah.
I'm going to hate social media. What? Who
From the one guy I know that uses it more than anyone else.
Who listens to podcasts anymore? Who listens to the radio anymore? That's it. I'm turning into like Jerry Seinfeld of wrestling.
Be an old guy.
Yeah, that's it. Crotchety.
Ole Anderson of podcasting.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's touch on Ronda Rousey here and her promo skills. She butchered this promo Monday night out. If you had to give her a grade from when she first debuted to this week, what would you give her overall grade?
C.
See, I would give it a B. Her in-ring has been phenomenal.
Agreed.
I think they're asking way too much of her right now from promos. You got to keep in mind, she's still, 6-8 months old in the wrestling world? That's an infant. There are people 15 years that are still trying to learn this crap. Yeah. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Once again, blame WWE for overextending what she can do.
And I agree with that. My C rating is not on, and you're probably right. It's probably more of a B range.
Yeah,
but
far from an A.
Yeah, far from an A. My rating of lowering her, the reasons for lowering her down have really less to do with her, and more to do with her booking and her usage. But now she's been, and when I say booking, I mean the frequency.
Right.
She's on TV too often. And they've taken the specialness of Ronda Rousey wrestling on Raw and diminished it.
Absolutely. And I don't like this. She wants Becky Lynch so bad she's willing to help her. That doesn't, like,
I hate her so much, I'll help her.
Yeah, like this whole apology thing when she went up and gave her advice. Like, what are you doing? You shouldn't have been, but I don't blame her.
But then she's willing the next week to wants to fight her so bad she'll give up the belt.
Yeah.
It's poor writing on their behalf. I think I kind of like her general quirkiness when it comes to promos in general, besides the fact that she will butcher up.
She needs freedom.
Yes, if she had the freedom.
Stop yelling.
Yes, her personality, I like the quirkiness. I think it's unique. It's different. Same with her ring style. It's different from what the other women are doing, and that does make her special. But they're overexposing her, and they're giving her too much.
I agree. They need to reel it in a little bit. I would limit her promos. Less is more with someone like that. We see it with Brock Lesnar, and it works. Whether you agree or not, it works. Brock Lesnar is still the baddest SOB in town.
I agree. I like Brock.
And they booked him phenomenal when he's around. Anyways, but they need to do a little bit less is more with her. Now, Kofi Kingston. Let's talk about this, Russ, because last week I said, I didn't like this Kofi Kingston thing because it came out of nowhere, and it seems like the fans are not going to be behind it for the long term. And I still wonder that, like, if this is just like, hey, we remember how good Kofi is, which to me, he's right now, they've turned him into basically a sideshow carnival act. You dust him off at WrestleMania, he does one cute trick, and then he throws pancakes the rest of the year. I love now the switch with Kevin Owens. If you didn't see SmackDown, essentially Vince McMahon comes out, overrules the McMahon kids, and says, no, Kofi, we're going to replace you with a bigger draw. Kevin Owens comes back. Now, we can talk next week on whether we feel like Kevin will be a face or a heel. I think that should be, I want to give
discussion all itself,
Yeah. I don't want to muddy the waters with what's going on with Kofi. But I love this move because we now will see Kofi.
Oh, look at that bandwagon.
No. Okay. Hang on.
Okay.
I love the move because we will see Kofi at WrestleMania. And between now and WrestleMania, we'll really figure out if the fans will truly be behind them for this push.
And I think they are. To be honest with you,
I don't know. Wrestling fans are so forgetful.
No. But I disagree with that completely. I don't think they're forgetful at all. I think that's the main complaint many wrestling fans have about the McMahons, is that Vince is forgetful of what he did last month, last year, 5 years ago, when he's writing his shows. I think fans know what they want, they know what they like, and they're excited for it. I mean, hey, this is my redemption moment for those 3 or 4 Roman Reigns fans that are out there right now listening, and we're upset about
3 or 4
of you that were upset about my Jeff Jarrett comments a few minutes ago.
By the way, Twitter blew up when you say that.
A, I stand by that, and B,
Whoa.
I was right last week. I said he should be the WrestleMania opponent. If they book him long term and they take their time to build it, this is a good move, and Kofi's the right guy for that kind of job.
And I agree. I want to see if this isn't a Johnny-come-lately kind of thing. Because look, you saw it on the SmackDown promo where they tried to remind us how great Kofi was in 2008 and 2009 with 2 Intercontinentals and the United States champion. But that promo ended at like 2009. There's been nothing else in between.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate on that. Outside of maybe Brock Lesnar,
right?
And John Cena, who in WWE?
Randy Orton,
who has not been a Johnny-come-lately?
Oh, who has not been?
Yeah.
Well, hang
Who's
on now.
in and out, up and down?
Well, you have Daniel Bryan.
They're pushed, they're not pushed.
He's been around
But push, not push. Push, not push. The push comes, it goes away. They flop it. They try again.
No. You're right. But we're talking 11 years, Russ.
Sure. But who hasn't been in that pattern?
Who hasn't? Yeah. Who has disappeared for 11 years?
11 years is a long stretch.
Yeah. That's my point. Yeah. It's been 11 years, and maybe a tag team champion here or there.
Hey, how long was Bret Hart in WWE and the WWF before he got his world title run? Right? A man builds his career with time. He gets better. Okay, Kofi Kingston could be Bret Hart. You don't know that.
I hope he doesn't. Kofi's way better than that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying.
That's crazy.
I'm just saying that you can't sell me how amazing Kofi has been when your promo ends in 2009 on Kofi. Okay. And in between, all you can tell me is he's had an occasional...
He's thrown a lot of pancakes.
And he's done some cool things at WrestleMania or Royal Rumble. Yeah. That's not the best way to build up a guy that you're about to give a WrestleMania push to.
No, that was a terrible way of building
it. It was horrible, Russ.
I would have just showed photos that he's held all of these titles.
Yeah, they did 3 promos, and they all ended in 2009.
Yeah, don't even show dates. That was a stupid move. Don't show any dates. Show pictures of him with all these different championships. Show his accolades. Let him go out there without the other guys acting a fool.
Right.
And cut a serious, impassioned promo. A money promo, because they said, funny ain't money, right? So
sure.
Get rid of the funny right now. Focus in on the title.
Because it took away from that moment of brokenheartedness. Yeah. New Day was great for a minute there, consoling him and yelling, but I couldn't get over the throwing of the pancakes and all that stuff 5 minutes before that.
No.
So I think they're doing this all wrong. If it was me, Kofi would have been out there. He'd have been heartbroken. I might have had him cry because that's a heartbreaking moment that you were pinned to paper. And
I don't think they did him any favors by him not picking up a microphone and defending himself.
Nothing. He sulked away. That's essentially what he did.
He tucked his tail and walked away, and that didn't do him any favors.
And I'm interested to see what happens from now to WrestleMania, how you bring him back into the picture because – we talked before the show started. I kind of thought somewhere throughout the show you might have seen a heel turn for Kofi Kingston. There was that moment where I thought he was going to flip out on somebody, or he got in the ring with Kevin Owens, and Kevin, was a little bit back and forth. Is he good? Is he bad? All right, I'll go with it. But I really thought you just saw Kofi say, I'm done with this, and hit him or walk away or something. And it didn't happen. So now I'm intrigued. I like this so much better than having him at Fastlane. I think this is the smartest move. As I said before, you put him at Fastlane, there's no build-up. I don't know if the hype is real or if it's just Johnny come lately. Because, like I said, this was Mustafa Ali's spot.
Yeah.
And he got injured. And if he would not have gotten injured, would the crowd still be chanting for Kofi to be in the main event for WrestleMania? No.
Absolutely not.
No. So that tells me I want to see more. I want to see a build-up. There was no build-up. And the short time when they put him in the Elimination Chamber, the crowd got behind him. That was phenomenal. I liked it, but I want to see more of it so I can be sold on it down the line.
Now, I'd like to say this is good filling in of an explanation, but the part of me wants to say this is great backtracking and backpedaling for you to fill in the break points from last week where you were just dogging and he doesn't need to be in it.
I am still dogging him.
Okay.
And I'm just saying this is great now because you give him time to develop something.
Yeah. Which is good, which is what he needs.
Opposed to throwing him to the wolves at Fastlane because he was never going to win at Fastlane.
Absolutely not.
No. And
I think there's a chance he wins at WrestleMania.
You know what? If the buildup is right, yes. But
we see. I think so. I think it's 50-50 in the air. I think we see how the buildup comes, how the fans start to react, and how the groundswell grows, and then you go forward. And
everything I said last week about Kofi is true.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to backtrack off of that. I don't think he was a main event guy. He just got thrown in and filling in for an injured guy, Mustafa Ali. And I still think that way. But now you give me time. You give me a whole, 30, 40 days to push and make me believe and sell me that the crowd is still behind him. That's all I'm saying.
So let me ask you this. As far as this build-up goes from now to WrestleMania, do you think the best move is to keep him as a part of New Day to keep that popularity build, or do you separate him and start putting some distance between him and the other two to build him on that serious fast track?
Too late to do that because now you do it and it feels forced. And they can be a real vital part of the storytelling if used scarcely.
I would back them off a little bit. I don't say you take him out of the group completely.
No, you can't.
But you back him off.
You can't. That's part of his identity now.
Yeah.
And if you were going to do it, you had to have done it last night with a heel turn.
Yeah.
And it didn't come, so now they have to go on this journey with him, but they need to back off the comedy now.
I agree. I think what you do is you keep him out of those comedy skits completely.
Yeah.
And you put Kofi as the focus on a serious aspect. And you start to pull that away a little bit where
there can be a little funny, but it's backstage funny.
Just kind of like some of the Shield was at times or things where they're friends, they're close, and they've got his back, but they are not the three-man comedy duo anymore. They're not the Three Stooges. These two are a team. He's out on his own, but they've got his back if he needs it.
I still like them to come out, but I want everybody to realize this is not kid time anymore. You're about to go main event WrestleMania, and I want to see something serious, something passionate. I don't need to see a goofy guy dancing around throwing pancakes for my main eventer at WrestleMania.
No.
And this is the part of, New Day's work phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but it's held him back from being a main eventer because it's slapsticky.
It is, and I for one don't like slapstick in my wrestling.
I just don't at all. I don't mind it. I don't want it in my main event.
I can
main event is adult time. I think.
I can understand that. I don't like it much in general, but I can see why people might, and especially on a 3-hour show.
Russ, when we come back, we are going to talk Bautista return. We're going to wrap up the show. If you missed any of it, go to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. You can get this. Me and Petey Williams, Russ McCall. When we come back from break, as I said, Bautista, good or bad. We'll be right back. Powered by BlueChew.com. Get your first order free. Just use the promo code Perspective. Keep the wrestling perspective on the radio. Russ, there's only like 2 or 3 wrestling radio shows around anyways. So you want to support us, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, by default, we're meddling in this here.
We're muddying the waters of entertainment.
No, we're meddling. We're getting them. We're gold, silver, bronze here. There's only 2 or 3 of us left. So
I thought we were like the Scooby-Doo guys. So you meddling kids.
Well, you're meddling.
Yeah,
I'm trying to raise the bar here.
You're meddling and I'm meddling.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, let's touch on Bautista before we wrap up the show. As we said at the top of the show, Triple H's injury kind of had put this in doubt whether it was going to be a WrestleMania match. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm all for Bautista coming back. I'm happy that he's back for at least a short run. And I still think if Hunter and the McMahons would have given him everything he wanted, he'd still be wrestling to this day.
Probably so. I was extremely happy with the way that worked out. And again, biggest Ric Flair mark on the planet. But I think the credit goes to him and Dave for putting that together. It seemed real. It seemed spur of the moment, and it was a solid angle. It was serious, and it sold a match that, let's be honest, if you were putting out a Triple H match on Mania, of course, you would have pooped on it. But I'm excited to see it. Frankly, I think they did a good job.
What I liked about this was the misdirection, because we all thought it was either going to be Charlotte coming out ruining it.
Yeah.
It was going to be Becky coming out ruining it. And when they took her away in handcuffs, I kept going, now how are they going to do this? Because never once did I go, and I'm not a dirt sheet guy, so I didn't look at the dirt sheets. A few of them might have said that he was in the arena, so I didn't know.
I didn't either.
So when he popped up, I was like, oh, it's Bautista. Oh, this is awesome. And I'm worried, though. Blue nose ring, blue sunglasses. Are we getting Bautista back?
No, I don't.
We can't.
I think he's ribbing on everybody.
I hope.
I think he'll use that as a dig as he's coming back.
Does Bautista get cheered?
Well,
I mean, the work with the Marvel stuff.
Normally, I would have thought so, but I think they did a good enough job, and they picked the right person to put him against. As far as Monday night with attacking Flair in order to set him up as a heel to get booed.
All right, guys, this has been a great Wrestling Perspective. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Wrestling Perspective Podcast, if you missed any of it, we'll be back again next week. Russ, McCall, Dennis, Farrell. Thank you guys so much, Russ. Happy wrestling, my friend. This is where you say happy wrestling.
Happy wrestling.
All right, see you guys next week. Wrestling Perspective.